François Truffaut, the great French filmmaker, thought of André Bazin as someone who wrote about film better than anybody else in Europe. Bazin wrote a lot, and most of his writings on cinema endorse cinema's innate ability to record reality better than any other art medium. Bazin believed that cinema did not only have the ability to record life with all its ambiguities, but that it was its moral responsibility too. Cinema had to be dedicated to reality, for Bazin believed that cinema was the fulfillment of a long-standing desire of humanity to find a technique which could use reality for art and yet respect it. This made Bazin a critic of both the montage form of Soviet cinemas as well as the analytical editing form of American cinema. According to Bazin, both these forms privileged the image over reality. Bazin criticized montage as a technique where cinematographic images, though being part of the reality of life, would have to bear a meaning imposed on it by an outside agency. However, it is not that Bazin's belief in cinema's ability to be faithful to reality was without the understanding that cinema is artifice. Rather, Bazin would say that cinema's organization of reality, its treatment of time and space, should be such that it reveals more of the reality of the world of which we are part, more of the life with all its ambiguity. Bazin's thought about cinema can best be understood in the following passage that we are quoting from his essay, Umberto D., A Great Work. The narrative unit is not the episode, the event, the sudden turn of events, or the character of its protagonists. It is the succession of concrete instants of life, no one of which can be said to be more important than another, for the ontological equality destroys drama at its very basis. One wonderful sequence, it will remain one of the high points of film, is a perfect illustration of this approach to narrative and thus to direction, the scene in which the maid gets up. The camera confines itself to watching her doing her little chores, moving around the kitchen still half asleep, drowning the ants that have invaded the sink, grinding the coffee. The cinema here is conceived as the exact opposite of that art of ellipsis to which we are much too ready to believe it devoted. Ellipsis is a narrative process. It is logical in nature, and so it is abstract as well. It presupposes analysis and choice. It organizes the facts in accord with the general dramatic direction to which it forces them to submit. On the contrary, De Sica and Zavattini attempt to divide the event up into still smaller events, and these into events smaller still, to the extreme limits of our capacity to perceive them in time. Thus, the unit event in a classical film would be the maid's getting out of the bed. 2 or 3 brief shots would suffice to show this. De Sica replaces this narrative unit with a series of smaller events. She wakes up, she crosses the hall, she drowns the ants, and so on. But let us examine just one of these. We see how the grinding of the coffee is divided in turn into a series of independent moments. For example, when she shuts the door with the tip of her outstretched foot. As it goes in on her, the camera follows the movement of her leg so that the image finally concentrates on her toes feeling the surface of the door. Have I already said that it is Zavattini's dream to make a whole film out of 90 minutes in the life of a man for whom nothing happens? That is precisely what new realism means for him. 2 or 3 sequences in Umberto D. give us more than a glimpse of what such a film might be like. They are fragments of it that have already been shot. But let us make no mistake about the meaning and the value realism has here. Desica and Zavatini are concerned to make cinema the asymptote of reality. But in order that it should ultimately be life itself that becomes spectacle, in order that life might, in this perfect mirror, be visible poetry, be the self into which film finally changes it.